sports. It's in the game.
At the back, and here come the 5 red lights. Then there's 3, 4, 5 for the first ever Miami Grand Prix. There's lights out and away we go, and Lewis Hamilton is away particularly well, I think. Yes, he is. Verstappen's alongside him into turn 1. He's passed him already, and already Max Verstappen, no, Hamilton fights back. We go 4 wide in turn 1. We go 4 wide in turn 1. That's Stu, Vettel, Latifi and Albon all through turn 1. It looks like Alex Albon got away ahead of all of them. Right, already into turn 1. Where did Verstappen lose? Oh, there was contact between the leaders. It was a brush. It was harmless, I think, as Lance Stroll in the pits, and I'm going to assume he's had contact, which is rather unfortunate because he had a great start. He must have had contact when we were looking at the replays. He's on the medium tyres, so what would they put him on? It's going to be another set of mediums for Lance Stroll, so he'll probably have to pit again because of the tyre rule. So we got Lewis Hamilton leading from 1.8 seconds to Max Verstappen. George Russell right on his tail as Lance Stroll was spun at the back by himself. Lance Stroll's lost it in the final corner. He should be able to get out of there, and he hasn't. He's crashed it. Lance Stroll has crashed it, and I think that may be at least a virtual safety car because Stroll is stuck. Safety car deployed. That's going to destroy Hamilton's advantage. Kevin Magnussen's slowing down now. Oh no, Kevin Magnussen's had a great start to this race, and I think Jackson was passing him as well. He did, and Alonso's falling. Then here comes Aiden Jackson for more passing action. Round the outside, did he get him? Yes, he did. Jackson is P8. There's Jackson going down the inside of Lando Norris. No contest because of the DRS. Jackson is about to pass Sergio Perez for what probably feels like the 1000th time this season. DRS open, nothing from Perez, nothing to defend. And here he comes, down the inside. It's the Jackson highlight reel again, and he's done it again. And Hamilton's pitting. So that's earlier than I thought, and he's coming in. So Max is in. Where is Hamilton? There he is. I think Hamilton has got it. Lewis Hamilton will assume the lead, no doubt about it, when all of his pit stops filter out. Where is Verstappen? There is Verstappen, and it's going to be very close. Oh my goodness! I think there was contact. As they came out of the pits. Oh my, Lewis Hamilton's done it right now. Hamilton's on the hard tyres. This is going to go a long way, and Max Verstappen has already passed Hamilton. The advantage of the medium tyres has already hit home. That did not take long. Another fastest lap from Aiden Jackson. Now, I don't want to jinx it, but let's just wait and see. He takes the 25 for the win today. Max Verstappen wins the Miami Grand Prix, and he has predictably taken the fastest lap away from Jackson for the 3rd race running. Jackson has got to be frustrated. With the arrival of the Spanish Grand Prix came a heightened anticipation for a grid shake-up following the first updates for many of the teams this season. But it's fair to say that no one quite expected a mixed-up grid such as this one for this year's race. Good afternoon everyone, the Semi-Chaos and Aaron Hill with you as we count down to the start of the round 6 of the 2022 F1 season. A season that has thus far been dominated by Charles Leclerc and reigning world champion Max Verstappen. But could this be the day that their stronghold is finally broken, as Mercedes promised a substantial leap in performance here this weekend, and they certainly delivered on that in qualifying with a front row lockout, which is their first since the Mexico City Grand Prix last year and a first ever pole position for George Russell. They're followed by championship leader Charles Leclerc. And another team hoping to benefit from updates in this race are Audi, but while Jackson improved his best personal start position by finishing 4th, Hulkenberg's recent PU failures have caught up with him again, as he starts from the very back. Aaron Edward, it's fair to say that we have a very mixed up grid indeed. Oh, certainly Chaos and Mercedes have definitely flipped the script so far this weekend, but the real question will be answered here today, and that is just how much have they gained in terms of overall race pace. As directly behind them we have a Ferrari and championship leader Charles Leclerc, a car which has been the overall strongest package so far this season. And in 4th we of course have Aiden Jackson in the Audi, a car which has been the better of Mercedes in the majority of races so far this season, and of course the 2 Red Bulls directly behind them, who are both starting today's race on the hard tyres following the success that Max Verstappen had with that strategy in Miami last time out. Standout performance in qualifying was no doubt Aiden Jackson in 4th, however, and not only that, he was P1 at the end of the Q1 and Q2 sessions, showing a very good increase in Audi's pace over a 1-lap period especially. Don't rule him out for the race win today either, which would of course be his 2nd race win after Italy last year and Audi's very first. Russell could also score his first, while Hamilton is chasing his 104th. But even with all the new variables this weekend, I think in the end it'll once again come down to Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, with Charles in prime position in 3rd with the package of the season, and Max, as we said, going with the same strategy which worked well for him in Miami. Well, thanks Aaron as always. Well, in the pre-season we did mention the Spanish Grand Prix to have a different layout this year. Well, in reality, it's only just a reprofiling of Turn 10, but there is talk of this chicane in the final sector being taken out completely for 2023. As for today, let's take a lap round the current layout in the Alpine of Fernando Alonso, the home favourite, in a very wet start to Q3. So is this the final time we will be running on this current layout for the Barcelona circuit here in Catalonia? We do have one change for this year, and that is a reprofiling of Turn 10. We're at a very wet circuit to start Q3 for the lap of Fernando Alonso, the home favourite. Bit of a legend around these parts, I think it goes without saying. 2-time world champion in 2005 and 2006. We are at Turn 4 on this onboard lap. This is where Aiden Jackson most famously made his name last season, with a fantastic battle with Nicholas Latifi in the Williams, and unfortunately he lost out in the uncompetitive Haas. And as you can see, the rain has really increased to the start and everyone was really caught out. Many of the drivers went out on the dry tyres right to start the session, and then the rain started falling and it's kind of caught everyone out. So right now the Red Bulls will be on the front row. That's before Lewis Hamilton and George Russell bettered their times at the end of the session when the track had fully dried out. So as you can see, Alonso on the dry tyres here, not able to really put the power down at all. It doesn't really look as wet, but I think it was probably damp enough for at least the intermediates. But there was still about 4 minutes, as you can see, and the track dried out towards the end. So here's Turn 10, really reprofiled, probably a little bit wider than it's been in the past. I think we could see some overtaking there, especially considering the fact that the first of 2 DRS zones is down that straight, and as you can see, Alonso just not comfortable as we head into the very tricky section of this circuit, very much not a favourite with anybody, and this is the chicane that could see a removal for the 2023 season, just taking that so tentatively. It's a very tricky chicane. It has been on the calendar since 2010, but aside from that, it is pretty much the layout we have known and loved for almost 30 years. That's a lap of at the Barcelona circuit. So the first upgrades of the 2022 season's cars have certainly shook up the order in terms of the grid, but it's Sunday where the points are awarded on race day. Will we have our first new winner of 2022 aside from Leclerc and Verstappen, with the Mercedes on the front row and Aiden Jackson on form in 4th in the improved Audi? It's hardly possible, but Charles and Max lead the championship for a reason. Commentary from round 6 of the 2022 Formula 1 season is from Aaron Henwood for the Spanish Grand Prix. Thank you, Chaos. Hello everyone, and a good afternoon from a very cloudy day here in Barcelona. Very different from when we were last here at the shakedown test, and it is a bit different from there also, with a reprofiled turn 10, which is the same 16 corners, 2.9 miles and 2 DRS zones that we still know and love, well, to some degree. A lot of people don't like the final chicane, but that could be gone for next year. So, George Russell, going from his first pole position of his career. It's been a long time coming for George. His highest position was of course second in the Belgian Grand Prix that never got going. Aiden Jackson has improved his personal position up to 4th now in the very much improved Audi, in which he scored P1 in both Q1 and Q2 sessions. But Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc are in prime position for different reasons. Charles is in the strongest car on the grid so far in the Ferrari in 3rd. Max Verstappen is going for the same strategy he employed in Miami, and that one in the Miami Grand Prix. All new variables, but will we have a new winner as a result? Let's find out. Let's go for the grid first. Nico Hulkenberg is at the back. He took another penalty as his PU engine struggles continue for him, and he's alongside Nicholas Latifi. Lance Stroll is alongside Alex Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda, it really isn't getting it together in qualifying lately. He's from 18th behind Sebastian Vettel. Mick Schumacher just cannot get out of the 16th place he's been stuck at for some time. He's behind Valtteri Bottas. Kevin Magnussen 14th behind Zhou Guanyu, once again ahead of his more established teammate. Daniel Ricciardo and Esteban Ocon just outside the top 10, and into the top 10 we go with Pierre Gasly once again in 10th behind Alonso. Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz only 8th and 7th behind the Red Bulls of Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. They're on the hard tyres. Aiden Jackson goes from 4th. He was 3/10 slower than Russell and behind Leclerc. And as we've said all day, the biggest surprise of the season so far, Mercedes not just getting pole, but locking out for the front row for the first time since Mexico City in 2021. So, green light then, and away we go. We could have a new winner, we could have a repeat winner, but one thing's for sure, it's not going to be your run-of-the-mill race this season. So many different variables and scenarios that really could shake up today's field. And around the testing track, where everyone really knows like the back of their hand, really mistakes are not going to be a virtue here. Obviously winds can cause some problems, but I don't think there's going to be any danger of that today. It is cloudy, but the winds have pretty much died down, and I don't think there was any rain heading our way, which really could have spiced up the race, quite frankly. And it's something that Mick Schumacher probably could have needed, because who can forget Michael Schumacher's absolutely sensational drive back in 1996, where he took his first Ferrari win in torrential conditions that no one but him could cope with. Mick Schumacher could really use some of that magic today. He's still on no points after 5 rounds, but then it isn't doing that much better for Kevin Magnussen, because sadly he's only on 1 point, as Haas just don't seem to have it together in qualifying. In the races they are a lot stronger, but Alfa Romeo and Haas still are relatively struggling for pace with the Ferrari C-spec unit in the car. But Ferrari have really not had it their own way around here either. Charles is 3rd and Sainz is 7th, a long way out of position. We expected Mercedes and Audi to be better improved, but I don't think any expected it by this much. Lewis Hamilton chasing win 104, Russell chasing win 1, Aiden Jackson chasing win 2, of course. There is the preferred strategies. Well, the majority are on the medium tyres apart from the Red Bulls. No one is starting the race on the soft tyres. There was some talk that Jackson may do to get the best position off the line, but I think even if Aiden was able to get into first in the first corner, I don't think he would really be able to keep there very much because the Ferrari is still out in front. But then again, Mercedes looked out the front row, of course. Here we are on the grid then. There's Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen versus Aiden Jackson is the battle, or the possible battle, that we've waited over a year for, considering them two are very similar. Here come the 5 red lights for the Spanish Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go, and George Russell's got away really slowly. It looked like as Hamilton got ahead, and we cut to the back with Hulkenberg. There's back at the front, it's George Russell. He's going to lead into turn 1. Hamilton's going to be alongside him at the turn 1, and Hamilton's taking the lead, and the Mercedes avoid each other. And we've had Mercedes in contact here before, back in 2016. It was around here now at turn 4. Are we going to get that today? No. The Mercedes get through unscathed. George and Hamilton still on the inside of Russell. They've gone side by side. We've seen this before. And thankfully now there's no collision. George gets back in front. And it looked Max Verstappen there down the inside of Jackson. We've waited again for this. And unfortunately, I think Jackson's won out. I don't think it'll be the last time we see those two locked in combat. Sergio Perez has lost out to Lando Norris. Lando Norris is up to 6th. Lando Norris had a fantastic start. Sainz got the worst of it. He's down to P9. Hulkenberg's already alongside the TV, it looked like. Hopefully we'll get to the back. Looks like he's beaten him. Yes, he has. And of course, Aiden Jackson battled here with Nicholas TV last year in a side-by-side battle that went through 4 corners. And Jackson ultimately lost out, as the Haas was a very uncompetitive car last year. George Russell leads from Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc is 3rd, followed by Aiden Jackson. Max Verstappen in 5th. Lando Norris 6th. Ahead of Perez. Alonso's got ahead of Sainz, and Gasly stays in P10. That is your top 10 for the end of the first lap of the Spanish Grand Prix. And George Russell is in the perfect position to lead this race on the medium tyres, and he's ahead of Hamilton. Will he break his teammate? And now, further down the order, we've got Esteban Ocon 11th alongside Daniel Ricciardo. Zhou Guan Yu is up to 13th place. Mick Schumacher up to 14th place ahead of Magnussen. And Bottas is down to 16th. What is going on in Alfa Romeo? Certainly not been the competitive force we thought they would be. As we get to replay the start, George seemed to get away really slowly off the start. I'm surprised Hamilton didn't really just rocket past him, because that looked a really slow start by George. He actually moved to the right. Oh, there was contact between the Mercedes. The slightest brush. It'll be harmless, thank goodness. And well, that could have ended in absolute disaster. But here, 2016 lessons were learned, and the Mercedes got through turn 4. So that's thankfully for them. Of course, back then, Mercedes were the dominant force, and everyone wanted to know what a race would be like without the Mercedes occupying the top 2. Now we're the other way around. And the other way around at the moment is Mercedes definitely made gains. Here's Fernando Alonso's start, and he passed Ricciardo and Sainz in the before the first corner even came. So it was a great start by Alonso, so he also made a good start. And then Lando Norris passed Sergio Perez there as he was holding up Alonso. So Norris made up that place back on Alonso, and then made it up on Perez as he was slow going into the first corner. So Alonso and Norris were definitely the winners off the start. And look how close Aiden Jackson is to Charles Leclerc already. He's certainly hanging with the Ferrari. Ferrari don't really look at it today, strangely enough. And that's proved by Carlos Sainz down in P9, as he's really struggling. And the question will be, can Max Verstappen hold on to this top 4 ahead of him? He's on the optimum strategy, really, on the hard tyres. Well, in theory, anyway. Because he'll be able to go longer than these guys. And he has probably the second best car, arguably. So he should be able to beat at least the both Mercedes and Aiden Jackson after the pit phase. DRS enabled. And we know how good the Audi is in DRS trim. This is actually going to be very interesting to see if Jackson can hang with these 3 ahead. Could he possibly challenge for the lead of this race? That would be very interesting because we know the Audi is good at following cars and in DRS circumstances, but they do have drag when running in clean air, which is a strange conundrum in Formula 1, but Audi have certainly aced the technical regulations in terms of what they were designed to do, because they are following cars a lot closer without really much effect and for longer periods of time, and Aiden Jackson has certainly proved that these regulations work. Of course, I don't think we would have really made much of a difference because we know how good of a passer Aiden Jackson is. George Russell still about half a second quicker than Hamilton throughout, but he's not able to get away from him, which is good news. That means we could have a battle for the lead. But Hamilton is just hanging back a little bit, trying not to wear out his tyres. But George Russell has the advantage of running in clean air, so he'll have the best possible scenario here. But it's just that Max will be on the hard tyres, so we'll have to keep an eye out for him later in the race. But having said that, Max is 2 seconds behind these four, so that's interesting. And here comes Aiden Jackson. Is he going to look at Charles Leclerc round the outside? We've seen this before just last year. And he goes round the outside. Does he make the move stick? Yes, he does. Oh my word. Aiden Jackson has done it in turn 2 and 3 again. Up to third. Beautiful move. And he did hang with Charles Leclerc. So now, Audi, this is interesting, because Audi have certainly had the better of Mercedes in the early part of this season. So who's to say Jackson can't lead this race? Wonderful move in turn 1 and 2 again.
Get in there, Aiden. Attaboy. Alright, mate. 2 Mercedes ahead. You know what to do. Copy that. Let's go.
Nothing more needs to be said. Jackson knows what to do. He's a bit of a star around here, as last year proved. And Nico Hulkenberg is also making moves, really proving how good that Audi is in a DRS scenario. With Lance Stroll ahead having DRS, Nico Hulkenberg was still able to pass him. Audi have certainly aced these cars, that's for sure. They have certainly aced it in terms of these regulations. They are proving that these regulations work, and watch out for them in the future when they get some more updates on that car and challenging for the leaders. But it looks like these updates are working a treat for them at the moment. And now we have Aiden Jackson chasing down Lewis Hamilton. We know how good the car is in DRS trim. Look at that. Jackson is able to stay with him, even with Lewis having DRS on George. Audi have certainly been the revelation of the season so far. And the question now is, will they win a race? That's the last question. But it could have an answer. We know they have podium contenders with Jackson. Hulkenberg's been hugely unlucky, and he was hugely unlucky again today, having to start from the back, but he's trying to make up for it best he can. He's already passed George Russell. And, well, must be Max Verstappen and Red Bull be thinking. They thought they had the best looking strategy, but now Max is not even in DRS train. But I guess as long as he can see the guys ahead, he might come back to him later in the race. Now here's Aiden Jackson. We're behind on the rear wing. It's open. Did he get alongside Hamilton? I think he didn't. We haven't got the best camera view there, but let's see. Nope. So that DRS is relatively short. It's a relatively short straight. It's just really keeping up purposes. But the shout out to George Russell, who's doing brilliantly well in the lead. He knows how to lead a Grand Prix. He had the Chequered Grand Prix 2 years ago for the majority, before a mix-up with his pit stop. It really, as a whole, put him out of position, sadly. George looks to make amends for that today. Hopefully some redemption for George Russell. As Aiden Jackson goes round the outside of Lewis Hamilton into turn 1. It's going to be the same move that he did on Leclerc. Hangs it in for turn 2. And he's done it again. Aiden Jackson now up to second. And that Audi car can really hang with the Mercedes in race trim. They must be so surprised. They gave Audi the engines and their star future driver. And once again, Aiden Jackson puts himself as leader of that team in a different team. What a beautiful move. He kind of lost it a little bit out of turn 2, but he held it. And now George Russell is going to be furiously looking in his mirrors, because he's got a very motivated Aiden Jackson behind him, who could lead a race legit for Audi for the first time. I think they led... did they lead in Miami? I think they did. I think Aiden Jackson was at least close to leading Miami, wasn't he? I think he led for a lap before the pit. Oh! Oh, did Aiden Jackson hit George Russell there? I think he might have. I don't think there's any damage. I think it looks okay. We'll have to have a look. But he certainly lost some time. to George Russell. He's lost about 7 tenths to George in that. It looks like he got really close in the chicane. And even though the chicane is not a favourite place of all the drivers, Aiden Jackson certainly made good use of it there, but he couldn't. There was no way around George Russell either side, really. And look how good that Audi is at DRS. It's got a fantastic DRS system, that Audi, as it's caught Jackson right back up to the rear of George Russell. And George Russell's going to be powerless if Aiden Jackson can get in a prime position down the DRS straights, because George has no DRS because he's the lead car. Beautifully Aiden Jackson takes these corners. He is a bit of a master around here, and he definitely proved that in qualifying yesterday with P2 or P1 in both qualifying 1 and 2 sessions. It's just so unfortunate that he didn't make P1 in the third for his first ever Formula 1 pole position. He got to actually win before he got a pole, very much like Max Verstappen here in P5 and losing touch with those in front. Now we've got Alonso and Carlos Sainz, the hero and the protege, so to speak. Alonso being the teacher and Sainz being the proteges. Of course, Alonso was the hero for Carlos Sainz growing up. And now he's battling with him again today. Down in P9. What a very odd race for Ferrari this is turning into. Meanwhile, back at the front, here we are on lap 8. And we have the possibility of Aiden Jackson leading a Grand Prix for the first time in the Audi era. Down the inside this time, and he's held in, and Aiden Jackson has led a Grand Prix for Audi's first lead of a Grand Prix in their livelihoods here so far. In their, I know what I meant, but I probably said that completely wrong. But in Audi's lifespan in Formula 1, which has only been 6 races and about 6 years earlier than planned, they're leading the Spanish Grand Prix. What a sight. And look at that, already a second between Aiden and George Russell. The Audi has some pace there. Well, Audi Sport are leading an F1 Grand Prix. We didn't expect to say that so soon, but they have come with all the good resources from their Wave and West partnership, personnel-wise, their car parts and their car knowledge of the 2022 season. They had the blueprint already with their show car in 2021. So they already had it pretty much set out. Not to say they got an advantage over the rest of the field, they certainly didn't. Red Bull and Ferrari came out with the strongest package, well, Ferrari in particular. But it's Audi that are leading the way. Meanwhile, his teammate can't really make any inroads on Yuki Tsunoda, strangely enough, who's lost out to Sebastian. In fact, I think he was behind Sebastian Vettel anyway. Yuki Tsunoda not having the best of times in the AlphaTauri so far this season. And look at this, 1.2. Aiden Jackson's lead over George Russell. Can he pull away and possibly get into a position to win this race? It's only lap 9, of course. Anything can happen. It's still a long race ahead. But right now, Aiden Jackson is looking in prime position to maybe get Audi's first win. Well, first wins are a thing at the Spanish Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher's Ferrari win in 1996. Max Verstappen's Red Bull win in 2016. The Spanish Grand Prix certainly brings up some first-time winners. Of course, Aiden Jackson wouldn't be a first-time winner because that wasn't won until last year. But it would be Audi's first win in Formula 1. Aiden Jackson leads from both Mercedes and Charles Leclerc, who are second now, clear of Max Verstappen. He tries to get his foot down and start to catch these guys. Aiden Jackson is not pulling away at a rate of knots, so this could aid Max Verstappen later in the race. Jackson seems to be struggling with traction out of corners though. And I think that's probably what's going to keep these guys in touch. Audi are not a runaway race leader. We don't know how they are in race leading terms because they haven't actually won a letter race until now. That's Lando Norris, who's going slowly. Aiden Jackson sets the fastest lap at 122.6, and I think that's a front right puncture on the McLaren of Lando Norris. And that's very unfortunate because he had a great start to this race, up to 6th. That gets him out of the way of Sergio Perez, who's now up to 6th. That promotes Alonso, Sainz, Gasly and Ocon into the top 10. Lando Norris going to the hard tyres. I'm not sure that'll make the end of the race because tyre grading has certainly been an issue over the long runs in practice. But we'll have to see. So Lando Norris really needs a safety car now to get himself back into this race, but he won't have to stop again if he can make it So let's see where he got this. So he's out of shape in turn 10. I think that's a right front puncture that Norris has suffered there by the looks of the wobbling of the tyre. Could be a rear puncture maybe. It's certainly an issue. But he's gone. I think front right is gone. And here's a replay of Charles Leclerc. And yeah, Jackson struggling. He's now George Russell and Hamilton are caught right back up to him. And Hamilton, he got a bit, he came out of turn 4 a bit slow. And Charles Leclerc went down the inside. And did he pass him? And I don't think he did, because Charles was really struggling at the steering wheel there. You can see all the corrections he's having to make on the steering wheel. And Hamilton got back out in front. So Charles is now battling, and I think it's because Aiden Jackson is probably struggling on that set of tyres. I wonder if he's hit the grading phase. Yeah, Jackson's really struggling now. And now, down the inside, goes George Russell with DRS. Jackson's not going to have DRS, but we know how brilliantly Jackson can defend. Russell's ahead in turn 1. Jackson swoops round turn 2, keeps it clean, and keeps the lead. But he is struggling. And I wonder if tyre grading has hit the Audi there, because he's lost a second that he had at one point. Jackson, Russell and Hamilton and Leclerc definitely look faster than him in this early stage. And look there, Max Verstappen has caught right up as George Russell goes down the inside of, I think it's turn 8 or turn 6. And now he's took back the lead. And Jackson stays to the outside. He'll a bit of a wider line going to that corner, but he took it wonderfully there.
The tyres feel completely dead. It's okay, Aiden, it's just the grading phase, mate. Okay, we're going to go target plus 3. We're moving to plan B. Objective, stay with them. Copy.
So plan B for Audi then. And Jackson has hit the grading phase on those medium tyres. And that makes sense, because like we said earlier, grading has definitely been a problem. It certainly was an issue for tyre was certainly an issue there for Lando Norris. It's about 9 seconds behind Nicholas Latifi at this current moment, but he's much faster than most of the cars ahead. So he might be able to get back into the top 10 with that. Mick Schumacher sitting in 13th place, and definitely his highest position so far this season, but sadly he's not been able to score a point. And Aiden Jackson, target plus 3 they say at Audi. And I wonder when that window is. I think the pit window is pretty much open now as George Russell goes down the inside as we head into turn 4 or 5. And as he got him, I think he might have. This is where Jackson lost out to Latifi last year, and he's lost out to Russell this year. Trying to go back down the inside, nothing doing. Jackson is certainly struggling on the grading on those medium tyres. And Kevin Magnussen has just got ahead of Mick Schumacher. What happened there? And I wonder if Mick made an error. And now Kevin Magnussen's passed Zhou Guan Yu. So Magnussen's flying. He's up to P12. And Magnussen just got all sorts of speed from somewhere. And Hulkenberg's fast Valtteri Bottas. Hulkenberg's flying as well. He's up to 14th place. 15th place. So the men on the move are Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg was stuck behind Tsunoda last we saw. So something has happened. And it's pushed Magnussen and Hulkenberg up the field. That'll be great for Audi. They definitely have legit pace in that car anyway, as Aiden Jackson's proving. And now Hulkenberg has passed Bottas. Hulkenberg is right in the gaggle of cars, right in the middle of this. This is Zhou Guan Yu who is leading the way. And there's a right old scrap. Hulkenberg's going to have the inside for the chicane. And he should, and I think he did, get it with Bottas. So once again, the Alfa Romeos are struggling. Back to the front. And Max Verstappen is right alongside Charles Leclerc there. He was having a look. Now this is a great position for Verstappen in a way, because he's on the hard tyres. And he's right now in contention with Aiden Jackson temporarily leading and holding everyone up with the grading phase. It's pushed Max Verstappen right into prime position to possibly win this race. I think Mick Schumacher might be having a problem because he can barely keep with Kevin Magnussen at the moment. I think he might have gone off somewhere, and that's why there's been a lot of position moving lately. What a race. Lap 13, we've got an absolute stunner going on here for the Spanish Grand Prix. We've got Aiden Jackson battling hard to try and stay with the leaders, as it'll work for him later in the race. We've got Nico Hulkenberg flying through the field, as now he's chasing Zhou Guanyu in the Alfa Romeo. Audi have certainly improved their car, and it's certainly... Did I see a yellow flag there? I think there was a yellow flag for something going on. Not sure what it is. Looks like the camera's trying to find it. Sebastian Vettel! Sebastian Vettel is out of this race! And another problem for Aston Martin in the engine department, I'm guessing. Now here's the replay. Vettel was chasing Valtteri Bottas. And another loss of power. And it's the same issue that he had in Bahrain. And he's holding up Tsunoda while he's doing it. And that's put Tsunoda right out of contention for points. Unless the strategy can work later. That's probably helped Lando Norris, because now he's right on the back of Lucas Latifi, I think it was. In fact, he's passed Alex Albon. So now Lando Norris is going to really help Lando Norris here, because he's right in a good position as well. The hard tyre runners certainly, well, Lando Norris didn't start on the hards, he was moved to the hards after a puncture, but in any case, being on the hard tyres is certainly the way to go. And if Aiden Jackson is struggling with grading on his tyres, then maybe Audi might want to think about undercutting those around them at the moment, but Jackson's still going. The medium tyres, we're thinking about lap 15 to 19 before the leaders start pitting. So I wonder if 19 is the end of the window, will Audi be going into the 20s? In fact, Jackson's just passed George Russell. We didn't see it, but Jackson has just repassed George Russell for P1. He leads his race again. And Jackson, he knows how to win, and he knows how to lead, and he certainly knows how to win, because he certainly did that last year. Look how far back Jackson was here. This Audi, it may suffer from drag, but in DRS trim, oh my goodness, Jackson a mile off. What a move, and he didn't make any contact with Russell at all. That DRS on that Audi is sensationally good. Now we've got Max Verstappen chasing Charles Leclerc. The championship leaders, both on different strategies, almost making contact. George had better grip out of Charles had better grip out of turn 2 with the medium tyres. Max Verstappen holding it round the outside. Please tell me he made that pass. He did. Oh my word. Max Verstappen doing it again. What a move by Max Verstappen. Now in P4, and unbelievably, after all the variables we had, it looks like Max Verstappen is the person who is helping the most. He's up to P4 and absolutely on it as Charles Leclerc comes into the pits. The championship leader is in the pits, and wow, Max Verstappen, this could really work better for him if he can keep up with Hamilton and Russell, who he's lost 2 seconds to, strangely enough. But they're being held up by an ailing Aiden Jackson on probably worn tyres and certainly grading ones. The grading does wear off after a while. So I wonder if Audi are going long with Aiden Jackson. They might be. And I think they certainly wish they could have gone longer with Hulkenberg, because now he's up to P11. Nico Hulkenberg is having a stunning race at the moment. Audi have certainly got some good improvements on that car. Jackson's leading and Hulkenberg is on the move. George Russell, who will be shell-shocked by that move from Aiden Jackson. That was so far out from Jackson. That car was so good in a straight line with DRS enabled. But I think we are seeing the effects of the open-air drag that is slowing this Audi down. And I think that's why Aiden is not able to get away when he's in the lead, because the car's drag is certainly an issue that they have. George Russell is opting to pit and get out of the way. So I wonder if this was Audi's plan. Maybe go longer than the Mercedes, which will put them back ahead later. But I don't think Jackson's really showing any pace. And George is going to get a little held up by the Ferrari of Sainz who comes in. So this is certainly the open pit window. Mick Schumacher is now 10th, but he will most likely have to pit. And he does this lap, as does Hulkenberg. So Nico is coming in first. So Jackson target +3. I would assume that's probably going to be lap 19 when he comes in. On grading tyres, Jackson's doing a fantastic job. In come Audi, who finally applied the right badge to their team overalls now. That's actually been sorted. And Schumacher stays ahead of Hulkenberg in the pit lane and behind his teammate Kevin Magnussen. Haas and Alfa Romeo, certainly, as we say again, most disappointing outfits of the season so far, while Audi have been the revelation. It was supposed to come in 2026, taking over the Sauber team, which is currently the Alfa Romeo team right now. Oh, and Jackson, and that was really squarely out of the last corner. And Hamilton is opting to pit next. So, you know what that means, folks. Now, hopefully, we get to see it. Aiden Jackson versus Max Verstappen for the lead of a Grand Prix. We've waited a year for this. And boy, if these two are very similar, it's going to be a titanic scrap. Max Verstappen could actually win this race. He's done brilliantly well. He's kept out of trouble. He's kept out of the dirty air of many in front of him cars, held up by a very ailing Aiden Jackson in that car at the moment. You can just see visually how much Jackson is struggling with that car. I don't think Max is going to be Jackson's race. I wouldn't be surprised if Audi tell him just to move aside for him because they're not racing him theoretically. But I don't think giving up is in Aiden Jackson's vocabulary. So here we go. Jackson now really powerless. Goes right in turn 10. He's struggling with that car. Aiden's going to be a sitting duck in the second DRS zone, chased by Max Verstappen. We've waited a year for this, folks. Please don't pit either of them. We don't want to see in the pit. Oh, I think Max is in the pit. Oh, he's in the pits. He's in the pits. Now that's interesting because Aiden's going on. So Jackson is going longer than Max and the Red Bull on softer tyres. Wow, target +3. Target +3 means just stay out until the tyres are literally no more. And wow. But now, of course, look what tyres Max Verstappen's on. And I think if... Oh, there's Hamilton. Wait a minute. There's Hamilton. Has he come out ahead of Verstappen? He goes round the outside. He's definitely quicker. Max has to concede the position. He has to think about the championship. He's just coming out of the pits. Oh my. Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes are back, that's for sure. They are certainly back today, even if they don't win this race. But look who is. Aiden Jackson, 2 seconds clear of Red Bull's Perez. But he's probably not racing Perez. Well, he probably is actually, because Perez has been kind of nowhere. And look where Lando Norris is, folks. Under all of this, scrapping for the lead and seeing cars everywhere, Lando Norris is now up to 9th. And he fell down to the back after a puncture. Can he make it to the end? Jackson's coming in. Finally to get rid of those tyres. He has the fastest lap, don't forget. But I don't think it'll be long before Max Verstappen takes over it, to be fair. Of course, he could do it on the last lap, as he's done the last 3 races now. So Perez is already going down the pit lane exit, well, to the exit. Let's watch Audi's pit stop. Hard tyres. Of course, that's the mandatory tyre for the race. And there's Max Verstappen go down the inside of Lewis Hamilton with DRS, and it's no contest again. And Jackson's come out ahead of Russell. And now, well, this is interesting now, because Jackson is right in position for the win of this race. But how quickly will Max Verstappen pull away? Jackson's got to get those tyres up to temperature, and now the hard tyres, they'll take longer to do so. George Russell is down the inside, and we've got racing everywhere. And Jackson and Russell just cannot be separated on this track. Now we go to turn 7, or I don't even know what corner it is. But anyway, now it's still side by side, and finally Jackson gets ahead. Oh, my goodness, what a race. Normally the Spanish Grand Prix is one of those processions in recent years, but not today. Not today. We're having a stunning race. But now, Max Verstappen is in prime position because he's on the medium tyres and he's passed Hamilton in relatively quick fashion. I think it took him like a lap. And, well, guess what, folks? He's fastest in the first two sectors. I think he's going to take the fastest lap again. Max Verstappen is going to take it away from Aiden Jackson. There'll be nothing Jackson can do to answer because he's on the harder tyres. And I think Max has done it. There it is. 122.4 from Max Verstappen on the medium tyres. And that is pretty much the end of all she wrote as far as the fastest lap is concerned. Lando Norris, a fantastic effort to get up to P9. Will he have to stop again though? That's the real question. Nico Hulkenberg definitely has had a good drive today. Unfortunately, he's not going to get rewarded with any points. That's really unfortunate, to be fair. Nico Hulkenberg, definitely the unluckiest man of the 2022 Formula 1 season this year. Since Bahrain, it has been no points and no luck for Nico Hulkenberg. And, well, surely sooner rather than later, he's got to be back amongst the midfield, the top of the midfield. You know how good Nico Hulkenberg is. Chasing Kevin Magnussen for P13 in the Haas. Well, meanwhile, Jackson is chasing Hamilton, and Verstappen has checked out. 2.2 seconds already clear of Hamilton, and I think that is all she wrote for the race today. So, barring mechanical troubles with the Red Bull powertrain, Max Verstappen is going for back-to-back wins now. There'll be nothing that Hamilton or Jackson could do for that matter, because they are on a harder compounded tyres than Max is. I have to hope that Max probably wears out his tyres, but he's adding clean air and he's really kind of cruising. So I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. Well, this man again, he's led a Grand Prix. He's won one before. He was the F2 runner-up and the F3 champion, and now he's doing absolutely magnificently with his brand new team that was supposed to be in Formula 1 in about 4 years' time, but they brought their entry 4 years forward with an engine power deal by Mercedes and also Aiden Jackson from Mercedes. And what must they be thinking? Because the man that they gave Audi with the power units they gave Audi has had the beating of them in the majority of the season so far. Will we see Aiden Jackson succeed Lewis Hamilton at any point in the next few years? You have to say it seems the most likely. The only thing really stopping that is the fact that Hamilton wants to keep going, and who can blame him? After a title that was rather controversially taken from him, let's say, he wants to get it back. He's not going to get it back this year by the looks of it. Nor does this man has anything to do with it. Max Verstappen, you can't begrudge him for last year. I've said it before. It's not in his control. He did his job. There'll be some question over the race director. Michael Massey did his correctly, but Lewis Hamilton wants that back. And even though they're not really right at the front running away with it like they used to, Mercedes, I think this is the turning point in their season. I would almost guarantee that Mercedes, if they continue on this upgrade trajectory, will win a race in 2022. They will need some luck, because Max and Charles has the strongest car of the season, although it's not really shown today. In fact, I'm thinking about it now. Max is leading this race and Charles is 7th. Hold on a minute. Let's see if we get Aiden Jackson passing Hamilton again. Going down the inside. No regard for anything. You've got to love Aiden Jackson's fearlessness. He has no fear for anything. He will, if he sees a gap, he's going to take it. And it doesn't matter who it is. 7-time world champion, reigning world champion, it doesn't matter. Aiden Jackson will battle you. I think that's what people just love about Jackson. His fearlessness and his ruthlessness and his will to win, his desire to win in Formula 1. This kid has it all. You have to say, like I said in Australia, we had to put him amongst the great successors to the legends of Lewis Hamilton. And, well, not really Michael Schumacher, but I'm talking about when Hamilton maybe one day hangs his helmet up, which, if he gets his way, won't be for a while yet. Fernando Alonso we could also put in the discussion. But F1's stars of the future, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, Aiden Jackson, he's in that discussion now. Lando Norris. We hope Mick Schumacher, though sadly, the kid's on no points at the moment. Well, not one for not trying. Haas definitely isn't up to it, and neither is the Alfa Romeo on a consistent basis. Now we got Hamilton going past, Jackson going past around the outside of Hamilton again in turn 1 and 2, his favourite passing position, and he's done it again. We're not even surprised anymore. Jackson's P2, but unfortunately, Max Verstappen is more or less 5 seconds down the road. And, well, what a shame. Audi and Mercedes are definitely going to need luck to win a race this year. They will win a race. I would almost guarantee it. They will win a race this year. Because Mercedes have really improved over the last 2 races. And Audi have got even stronger as well. Both of these teams have led a race this year. So there's no reason why they can't win one. Except for the fact that Max Verstappen is leading at the moment. And there's nothing anyone can do about him at the moment. And going back to earlier, if my calculations are correct, with Max Verstappen leading this race and also having the fastest lap, and Charles Leclerc down in 7th, being really kind of blocked by not blocked by Sergio Perez, no, that's Carlos Sainz. Charles is actually 6 seconds behind Sergio Perez. Where did that happen? What happened to Charles Leclerc? He's down in P7. He was in prime position at one point. He was passing Hamilton and Russell for position. And then he got passed by Max Verstappen and really he just fell off. But poor Charles Leclerc, nowhere near Sergio Perez. So what happened to Leclerc? He must have gone off somewhere. You didn't see it. But in any case, if my calculations are right, Max Verstappen, who is leading this race with the fastest lap point, and Charles Leclerc in 7th, I believe that Max Verstappen will lead the championship at the end of this race. I could be wrong, but I think is it 14 between him and Leclerc at the moment? I think it's 14 after he's winning Miami, isn't it? So he might be about, I would say about 6 or 7 points clear. My maths is horrible, but yeah, Charles Leclerc could lose the lead of the title at the moment. Of course, down in 7th is about 6 points, I think. But 1 for 10th, 2 for 9th. I think it's 4 for 8th, so I think it might be 6 or 7. Max Verstappen might lead the Drivers' Championship by a small margin at the end of this race. Lando Norris is still going on these hard tyres. McLaren seem to be going to the end. We're not even bothered about the fact that Alonso is 12 seconds ahead of him. They're just lucky to get into the position they are. Charles Leclerc can't even see Sergio Perez anymore. And guess what? Fernando Alonso is right on his tail too. So Leclerc could lose out to Alonso with the Alpine. Where have Ferrari been this weekend? Ferrari have been the worst of the top 3. What has happened there? Oh, there's still a scrap going on for P4 between George Russell, Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez. Hamilton is just about within range of DRS from Jackson, who can't catch Verstappen. So Verstappen is going to win this race by mechanical issues. Don't like to jinx it, but Mick Schumacher, his father, won here in '96. In torrential rain. I wish Mick could have that rain right now. You can't even see Hulkenberg anymore. what's happened to Haas and Alfa Romeo. Kevin Magnussen, I think we did expect to beat Mick Schumacher on the experience terms. He's not been absolutely left in the dust, though, Mick Schumacher. But I think the car has masked both their talents, and that's the same for Alfa Romeo as well. Alfa Romeo are behind both Haases in this race so far, so Alfa Romeo seem to be getting worse. It's certainly this scenario might hurt the possibility of Audi buying into them in 2026. Audi might just continue out on their own. So we might lose Sauber from the grid. We would lose Sauber from the grid either way, because Max were hoping, Audi were looking to make a strategic partnership deal from about 2024, I think. Because at the end of 23, the Alfa Romeo did conclude that Kevin Magnussen is slowing down again. Kevin Magnussen is out of this race as the Ferrari power unit reliability is once again the Achilles heel of Haas and Kevin Magnussen in particular. 2 consecutive engine blasts for Kevin Magnussen. And that's going to hurt him later in the season as far as grid penalty is concerned. That's a big failure for Kevin Magnussen. Smoke coming out of the back of the car. And that engine has gone boom. Right power unit. Certainly is fast, but it's not really reliable in the hands of Haas. And Alfa Romeo aren't really benefiting from it either. Because they still, after this weekend, have 0 points. And look how valiantly Jackson is fighting off Lewis Hamilton. Now in the Australian Grand Prix, Jackson left Hamilton behind him. Here, because of Mercedes upgrades, not so much. It's more even between the two now. And, well, you would need Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen to probably have below par seasons for someone like Jackson to be champion. We hate to see it, but Formula 1 is not really an equal spec sport. And it's certainly been the case in the turbo hybrid era, in which Mercedes have utterly dominated, as Hamilton tries around the outside of Aiden Jackson for P2, and still Jackson does not give him any leeway. You wouldn't expect anything less. Bit of a genius around here, Aiden Jackson, isn't he? Charles Leclerc probably will be champion before Aiden Jackson is at the moment, although I wouldn't count him out completely. Certainly for this season I would, because Audi are definitely in a building block phase, let's say. And let's actually be honest here. Audi have built really fast and have benefited because of it. It's just a shame that Nico Hulkenberg just cannot get that other vital points finish that he so desperately needs. Because his morale has got to be on the floor, because he's had so much bad luck. But Jackson is carrying the load, and I think he's quite happy doing it, I would say. He relishes in things like this. Jackson does not want to make things easy for himself. He doesn't ever want an easy scenario. He lives and thrives in battles like this, and he proved it all through his junior career so far. And hopefully sometime soon he will be with this man, and we will see side-by-side battles with him, because like I said, we've waited a year for it and we almost had it, but Max Verstappen had to pit for medium tyres. I think it would have been a no contest today. Definitely Audi do not have the pace of the Red Bull at the moment, or at least one of them. Don't forget, Aiden Jackson is beating one at the moment, and he's beaten Sergio Perez on a few occasions this year, so maybe Audi do have the beating of Red Bull to some degree. I think it's just Max's superb talent that really puts him in the position he's in. Jackson is valiantly fighting off what many people consider to be the GOAT, greatest of all time in Formula 1, and the stats don't really don't lie. really is a true fact, even for myself being a Michael Schumacher fan. The stats and the numbers don't lie. Lewis Hamilton is a centurion in poles and in the wins column. He probably should have a couple more to his name. You'll remember Spa 2007, I think, or Spa 2008 when he was really strangely disqualified. But I think it was fair because we all remember that Lewis did let Kimi back through, but still had the momentum in the slipstream to keep up with him to pass him in the next corner. That was rectified a race later. And here's Lando Norris still, and he's keeping ahead of Ocon, you know. Lando Norris, driver of the day for me today. Certainly done well to take these hard tyres. 23 laps or so. I think he pitted before anybody else, didn't he, with that puncture. And here's Max Verstappen. What a ride this kid's on. This is not a... The surname argument gets thrown around a lot for drivers like Verstappen and Schumacher. Schumacher especially. But Verstappen's surname certainly did not get him in the sport, because to be all fair to Jos Verstappen, he didn't really have the career that was promised so much at one point. Let me tell you something, Jos Verstappen was no slouch. The drives he put in that Arrows car certainly warranted more than the car gave him, even in his Minardi days. I think he scored a P1 in France, didn't he? Minardi had a P1 in France. I'm sure it was Verstappen that did it back in 2003. It was qualifying one, so it didn't really matter for much for the grid, but he still got that. But Max Verstappen's junior career, he skipped Formula 2 entirely. Back in 2016, he was swapped for Daniel Kvyat to take his first win in Formula 1. Mercedes took each other out. There's no such luck today. Max has the optimum strategy once again, from the hards to the mediums. He's done brilliantly. We haven't really focused on him a lot, but it's becoming a bit of a common theme. Max Verstappen wins the Spanish Grand Prix again and takes the lead in the Drivers' Championship, I believe. But Aiden Jackson scores second for Audi Sport as they continue to go from strength to strength. Those upgrades absolutely work. But what a drive by him and Mercedes as well. 3, 2, and 4 for Hamilton and Russell. Those Mercedes are back.
You're a star around here, mate. That's P2, Aiden. Well done again, buddy. Yes! We did it! One more. It's coming. Let's keep pushing. Thanks, boys.
Oh boy, it's coming! One more, says Aiden Jackson. He's confident he can get a win this year. Well, on this evidence, he might not be wrong, but he needs Max Verstappen to not be there, because when he has the lead, he don't look back. One more, says Jackson. Wow, that boy wants to win, and he thinks he can do it, and who can blame him? Because that Audi car has been sensational this year. Nico Hulkenberg, sadly no points for him, down in 13th after a great drive himself. It's Max Verstappen from Jackson and Hamilton on the podium. George Russell 4th, and a Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc just fell off in the second stint somewhere. Alonso's 8th, followed by Lando Norris, a great recovery drive from a puncture to finish 9th, ahead of Esteban Ocon. And those are your point scorers for today. Still no points for Mick Schumacher, for Alfa Romeo, for Stroll, Latifi and Albon. I don't think they've scored either. Aston Martin also really languishing as well. Certainly didn't expect them to be not scoring any points either. So Max Verstappen does take the lead by, I think that's 6 points. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's 4 from what I can read. Aiden Jackson's gone up to 5th, ahead of Sergio Perez. Wow, I did not expect that to happen. Schumacher's good finish puts him ahead of all the other non-point scorers. No points for Alfa Romeo, no points for Aston Martin, and no points for Williams either. Audi will probably consolidate 4th with that. I think the top 3 is Ferrari still in the constructors, but Red Bull have overlooked one standings, and it's with that man, Max Verstappen. He wins the Spanish Grand Prix, and once he passed Hamilton, he checked out and ran away. Aiden Jackson, nothing he could do to catch him, because he had to pass Hamilton first anyway. But Jackson says one more to go, and I wouldn't bet against it. Next is the Monaco Grand Prix, the Principality, the crown in Formula 1. Nothing more needs to be said. Max Verstappen is your winner, and it's the Monaco Grand Prix when Formula 1 returns. Thank you for watching Barcelona.
Oh no,